Regional Forum for Sustainable Development, which is titled Empowering Youth for Sustainable Futures, Green Policies, Political Development, and Youth Activism. My name is Biljana Matevska. I'm from Center for Research and Policymaking from Macedonia. And together with my dear colleague Christian Trajkovski, we will have the honor to moderate today's event. The main objective of this gathering is to emphasize the importance of youth activism and youth participation in creation of sustainable policies for climate action. So as we are influenced a big time by the multiple crises or so-called polycrisis, we notice that in most of the Southeastern European countries, the green agenda is somehow being left behind by the governments and of course due to other priorities, and it is insufficiently tackled by the major national and local policies. Also, we are noticing the worrisome low level of youth participation in policy making, which is yet another challenge that we are trying to overcome and to address. So motivated by this state, with mutual forces and high enthusiasm, the Academy for Political Development from Croatia, together with the Foundation BFP for Responsible Society from Serbia and the Center for Research and Policy Making from Macedonia, we have together established the Regional School for Political Development for supporting the youth from these three countries, for now, to be more active and engaged in the process of developing sustainable policies. So our distinguished speakers today are Ivana Novoselec, the director of the Academy for Political Development from Croatia, Svetlana Stefanovic, the director of the Foundation BFP from Serbia, and Žiras Daskalovski, the president of the Center for Research and Policy Making from Macedonia, who will all have a short addressing tackling the mission and goals of the Regional School for Political Development, the importance of youth participation and activism, and the youth's influence via the powerful advocacy and lobbying tools. We're also very happy to have an opportunity to hear the experiences and perspectives directly from three youth representatives and eco-activists, Art Spahiu from Macedonia, Dorotea Strelec from Croatia, and Dunja Trifunovic from Serbia. And afterwards, we will have this Q&A session, which is planned as a discussion. So I would like to kindly ask you all to hold your thoughts until that session comes. The technical notes for this event is that it will be recorded for internal use. And I would like to kindly ask you all to mute yourselves and to turn off the cameras during the speakers' sessions. And of course, I welcome you all to participate in the upcoming discussions, and we will try, of course, to answer all of your questions, which can be also posted in the mutual chat. So without further ado, I would like to present the first speaker today, Ivana Novoselec, who I mentioned is a director of the Academy for Political Development from Croatia. Ivana is an expert in public policy development and political education with over 20 years of experience. She has been working in all sectors, private, public, and civil sector in diverse areas, and currently is strongly dedicated to nurturing the next generation of political leaders. So having Academy for Political Development being the leader the lead partner in the project Regional School for Political Development, I'll give the floor to Ivana, firstly to introduce the background, the mission, and the aim of the Regional School for Political Development, as well as its future perspective. Ivana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Biljana. You have said it's almost all. Greetings to everybody from Zagreb. It's really lovely. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with so many, I guess, mostly young people from our region. And I thank our friends and colleagues from CRPM for organizing this and giving us an opportunity to introduce our joint project to a wider audience. So without further ado, I will share a couple of slides with you. I promise not to be too extensive. And tell you a little bit about how our three organizations, how and why our three organizations joined to support the youth in the region in their understanding and knowledge of the policy making. As you might or might not know, we have, as our project, established a regional school for political development. It is a part of Erasmus Plus project, which is to go on from, it's already ongoing from the 1st of September and about to go on until the 31st of August 2025. Meaning that we are now in the middle of establishing our school and actually selection of our first generation. Hopefully, and the idea behind the regional school is not to stop with one generation in 1 year. Erasmus Plus, the whole project is set up in such a way to enable us to go on and to have a continuum of work with youth within the region, possibly also with other countries in Southeast Europe. So this is to be the first, but hopefully not the only generation that we will enroll. The context that we have found when we decided to get together is, I think, joined to all of us. First of all, I have to say that our three organizations, CRPM, APR, Academy for Political Development, and the Foundation BFP for Responsible Society from Belgrade, are all members of the network of European Council's Schools of Political Studies. So this is what initially brought us together. We have already cooperated previously in some of the regional projects. There was also one regional academy about 10 years ago. And we saw Erasmus Plus program as an opportunity to reestablish this cooperation. So we decided that we would fit into the youth priority of the Erasmus Plus program, and we have started discussing what our common grounds are. And as we all know, not only in the southeast of Europe, but all around the world, the youth are more and more disengaged from politics. There is a general, not only amongst young people, but a general lack of trust in political processes and institutions. And in many of our countries, there is a lack of systematic education about political processes, politics, and public policies. At the same time, we wanted to be very practical and think about policies that we might work on and that might be such to bring together different young people of different backgrounds from different countries with different political ideas and ideologies possibly. And we decided that the environmental issues at this moment are probably the easiest and at the same time the most important way to bring young people towards thinking about policy making. There is already a set of youth-led environmental organizations in our region. As I said, it's an issue that brings people back into the political arena, that engages on a local level, that makes people understand that policies and politics are not necessarily something that is very far away from all of us, because the environment touches us directly. And also, as mentioned, it's a very cross-border issue. So it brings with itself a perspective to bring us all together. So basically, we have come up with a project which aims to bring together young potential leaders or already established leaders age up to 30 to increase their understanding of the EU values and EU Green Strategy, to bring together a set of through kind of practical work that we will run a set of policy proposals with recommendations that will address green issues. That group, through better understanding of the EU green strategies, will also become a community. That's what we call a start of a bigger community. We all, each of the three organizations that we represent, we all have a big alumni network that is very vivid and very attached to our organizations, even if it represents very different people. And this is something that we wish to establish on a kind of a regional level, so to strengthen networks and to enable you, the young people of our countries, to collaborate in bringing better policy solutions to our countries. So what do we expect? We are now, as we speak, practically putting together a group of 30 participants, 10 from each of the countries, hopefully representing a diversity of sectors, of course, gender balance, possibly different political views, and with different experiences, so that our idea is that it's always an interesting opportunity to the participants, not only to listen to us, organizers and our guest speakers, but also to learn from each other, because they will be exposed to maybe the different people of different kind of backgrounds and experiences and attitudes. And that's a very valuable experience that we know we bring to our participants in our national programs, and we want to put in our regionals. The program will also be very exciting, I think, in terms of travel, because we plan to have 3 on-site seminars that will weekend seminars that will take place in Croatia, North Macedonia, and Serbia. So there will be an opportunity to see those countries, to get to know a little bit closer in each of the countries, not only the environment, but also the political environment. We plan to have a field visit this year to Rijeka and Krk in Croatia. Next year we will see. And we plan to have 1 study visit to the EU institutions in Brussels. As mentioned before, we will have very intensive online coursework with dedicated mentors from our team. And the coursework will go on in mixed groups of people from 3 different countries. So it will be mainly online, and we hope it will be by sheer fact that you have to cooperate with people from other countries, interesting, but furthermore so through the choice of topics and our support that we will provide. And as a result of the coursework, we hope to have 4 innovative policy development projects that your groups or the young people's groups that will be enrolled will develop in the areas of sustainable development, possibly circular economy, energy, biodiversity, urban development, climate change adaptation, or so. This is something to be discussed and also to propose by the participants. So just to wrap it up, I think we hope to use our best experiences from our schools to develop a new regional school, to develop through this project our organizational and curricular capacities to establish a regional institution that will go on for at least a decade, and hopefully more so. We will implement as a pilot this first year and set the grounds for the financing and further work of the school. We want to establish some stable and sustainable digital and physical channels of communication, the network, including all the materials that will be available to the members of the network. And obviously to increase capacities and political skills of our participants, who will then hopefully spill over this benefit to their local communities by doing what they are as young people doing in their communities, either as activists or politicians or public officials or members of the academia. Okay, so I would wrap up my presentation with this. I hope it wasn't too bureaucratic. It's also based on the description of the project that we have proposed to the European institutions. And we are very excited, I have to say, to have an opportunity to collaborate and to work with a carefully selected group of young people across our borders in Southeast Europe. So we are just at the beginning of this beautiful new experience, and I hope to be able to keep you posted on this and how it goes. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ivana, for being so time efficient. Thank you very much for that, and also for stressing the initial idea behind this this project, its necessity, and as well as presenting the dynamics of the program. I will ask the audience to save the questions for the conversation circle, because I sincerely believe that there is a great interest in learning more of the planned program. I would like to now introduce our next speaker, Professor Židas Daskalovsky, who is professor at the Faculty of Security in Skopje. He is a founder and the president of CRPM and is representing proudly our think tank at high-level public events in the country and abroad. He is also director of the Council of Europe supported School of Public Policy Mother Teresa. Professor Židas has published numerous scholarly articles on politics in the southeastern European region. It is worth also mentioning that in 2023 he was appointed as a full member of group of independent experts on the European Charter of Local Self-Government and the Council of Europe Congress of Local and Regional Authorities. And on this occasion, Professor Daskalovsky will briefly present the current state of youth participation and engagement in policy cycle and youth activism. Židas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Biljana. I'm glad to participate in this event. Let me start with the basics. The issue of youth participation in public policy making in politics is a disaster. It's a disaster, it's a problem, it's an issue which needs to be tackled and solved for the good of everyone, for the good of our society and for the good of young people. It's not specific to the region. This is something which is typical for all democracies in the world. Young people are rarely interested in day-to-day politics, rarely interested in participation in political life. What we have here and what we actually mostly deal with is some kind of avant-garde, the elite of the young people, all those who participate today and who participate at the events of the Croatian school and the Serbian school and the Macedonian school of politics, supported by the Council of Europe, are basically those who are in favor of youth participation, but are, as you might know very well, and maybe we can discuss this later in the Q&A session, you are a very strong minority. You can take any surveys you want. You want to take European level surveys. You want to take regional surveys, Southeast European level surveys on youth participation. You will see that it is very minimal. Second point I want to make is that actually this is very absurd. It's very absurd from the point of view that in 2024 it's very easy to participate or to be engaged. This is due to the very phenomenal advance of technology and the possibility to be informed, to inform, and to discuss. In the past, all those people who were born, let's say 30, 40 years ago, remember that the public debates were very limited, that public media was very few, and public media was very much controlled by parties or governments which had interest to do so. Today, you have very much decentralized model of information gathering or information serving, if you want, so that, for example, you have some maverick journalists who used to be part of the Fox network going to a country, undemocratic country, giving taking an interview from a authoritarian leader and having these videos seen by 1 billion people all over the planet. You know very well whom I'm talking about and whom I'm referring to. In any case, this is the second point. It's a bit absurd that youth are not participating more. The third point I want to make is that in present day, democracy itself is under big question, not only from authoritarian regimes and leaders that want to destroy our democracy, but also its democracy is under threat from within. And it's also a question what kind of democracy we are talking about. The old standard liberal democracy is being transformed and changed by the development of specific models of governance, which focus on the interests of elites. And it's not a surprise that young people are not really into it, not into democracy, which is oligarchic in nature and elite-driven. Elites very distant from ordinary citizens and young people. Elites which some of them are elected at elections which have very low turnout. You will have now, at least in Croatia and other countries around the EU, possibilities to vote in the EU Parliament elections in June. Typically, the turnout is very, very small. In countries like Slovakia, it's like 20 to 25%. So this is a big legitimacy question, especially that after the Euro Parliament elections, certain leaders within the EU are appointed, voted in procedures which are not very clear to ordinary citizens and to youth as well. You have other bodies and other political institutions which are very distant from the young people and which are very elite driven and in some cases taken by oligarchic circles. In any case, the next and the last point, because we agreed to be short and give you more opportunities to discuss and give your opinions and questions and comments. The next point is to present what we do in our school, what we do in engaging young people in Macedonia. We have in Macedonian School of Public Policy Mother Teresa effort to bring in all those who are interested. Well, this is a fact. We cannot make everybody interested. We cannot make all young people interested. But anyway, anyone who is interested can apply. And many of them who apply are admitted in the School of Public Policy. What we do is we introduce young people to public policy making. We introduce them to policy analysis. We introduce them to the basics of liberal democracy. We have critical views on liberal democracy. We have critical thinking. We have also sessions devoted to multiculturalism. Our country is one of those who are, historically speaking, very diverse. Not that any other country in Europe is not. France is, for example, a very diverse country, although the constitution does not say so. But in our case, we try to bridge different kind of political ideologies as well. We try to bridge different opinions on the future of the region and the future of the country. We do that with different debates, discussions, and analysis. Of course, this is a project which we are grateful that the Council of Europe supports, and without which we cannot function so well, although we can, of course. And it's always a very good thing that the Council of Europe spurs cooperation and different kind of projects, regional in nature or wider in nature. One of these regional projects, which I hope you all will participate in the future, is the one that Ivana, my colleague and friend from Croatia, from Zagreb, spoke about. The School of Public Policy of Mother Teresa is one of the many schools of politics in Macedonia. It's a school which is unique in character because it brings different people from different backgrounds who are interested in public policy. The question is how to engage those who are not interested. We believe that our participants, our graduates, are the agent of change. They, with their activities in their own organizations, in the civil service, in the ministries of foreign affairs, and so on, they will make a change and motivate more young people to participate. We cannot do everything together with Christian, with Maria, Biljana, and so on, CRPM. We cannot make miracles, but we believe that if we have very good and satisfied participants and graduates from our School of Public Policy, we will have more influence on youth in the country and in the wider region. I will stop here. I hope I was provocative and that you young people did not listen to one of these boring professor lectures like usual. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jidas, for stressing firstly the devastating current state of youth engagement in policymaking in general and the importance of investing in the education of the democratic values for pushing young leaders in green politics and their contribution in achieving the Agenda 2030. And lastly, for pointing the hard work that our school does and the impact it has on the future leaders. Our next speaker is Svetlana Stefanovic, who is an executive director of the Foundation BFP for a Responsible Society from Serbia, as I mentioned. She has over 15 years of professional experience in managing long-term and complex project-related capacity building in the field of non-formal education, youth mobilization, and professional and personal empowerment of young people. And Svetlana is also very passionate for advocacy, governance, and networking with various of stakeholders. So today she will briefly present to us the advocacy and lobbying tools as powerful resources which young people should massively use to make positive changes in our society. Svetlana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Biljana, very much. I feel like I'm in a Euro song, but this is like a Western Balkan song competition. Thank you very much. Hello from Belgrade. It's really good to see you all. And I'm really glad that we will discuss about this really important topic. Hello to everyone. And I'm really sorry for being a little bit late, but I am on time to give my speech as always, because that's the point. I will also try to be brief because as you all probably know, and we are speaking about the Agenda 2030, that's almost next year, because if we see and compare where we are now, we will see that it's a lot of work for all of our countries in the region to work on, but not only in our region, also in Europe and in world. The thing that is really very important that at the heart of the sustainable development is imperative to ensure that all individuals, particularly young people who represent a vital segment of society, be involved. One of the paroles is not to leave anybody behind. And because of that, it's really important to address the challenge that affect youth. And there is a lot of challenges that affect youth, like political exclusion, marginalization, limited access to education and healthcare, essential for encouraging their development, but also to be enabled to realize their potential, full potential to be an agent of change in their local communities. Also, I believe, because I'm lucky to work with a lot of young people, having in mind that, as Jidas mentioned, we are all part of the schools of political studies of the Council of Europe, and energy and enthusiasm and dedication is really like a powerful driving force for positive change, and really building a more inclusive, equitable, sustainable world for the future generation, but also for the present as well. The thing that is also important to bear in mind is that there is structural barriers and that promoting that intergenerational dialogue and cooperation is a chance for change. That kind of meaningful participation and empowerment of youth in shaping their knowledges and skills, and fighting against the obstacles that are include systematic discrimination based on age, on gender, ethnicity, disability, or socioeconomic status. And there is a number of tools where we, as an organization of civil society, but also organizations that are dealing with political participation and education, are the driving force, as I can say. Really, it's important to share our views, and really on a daily basis, I learn a lot from my colleagues that are not only that they are younger than me, but they have a completely different approach to some of the topics and how they see the potentials and obstacles from their sense. And their feelings and their personal, actually, how all the things that we are bringing and all the decisions that the decision makers making influence influence them. And only if we include all of those people, we can build a society where we can have that potential for change. Advocacy is really strong tool, and in the last 10 years, really a lot of things were said there. And if you don't know what to say, you say you can advocate for that, and you can make a change in your local surroundings, and you can be active. And on the other hand, when we read the different researches, not only on the national, but also on the regional and global level, we see that there is still a lot of young people that are not active, that they don't take their chance, that they don't ask for their for any kind of advice, for a mentorship support, for any kind of help. There is a path that young people meaningfully be involved in the decision-making processes, because when you live in the small city, I think it's the same situation in Macedonia, in Serbia, in Croatia, but also in all other countries. Somebody who have the power make decisions, and that decisions impacts your lives, communities, and like your surroundings. And that tools that we present, and we have several projects, and one of them is also Regional Academy, where we try to recognize young people's contribution to society, to diversity, and to give them, and to show respect to them, but also to give them floor, to give us ideas how we can jointly can work on solving the problems starting from the local level, because I really believe that all the changes in will start from the local level. That means also that we recognize the barriers, that we recognize the structural injustices, and to try to give them wind to back in order to use all the tools and platforms that are there. Some of them that are really effectively influence policies and to promote positive change through advocacy is to use all the mechanisms that are that enable young people to speak up, to fight for their rights, to make their interests on the local level, to make their interests on the national level, and to also motivate them to take political participation, to that grassroots activism. Because when we speak about political education, it's always, I can say that for Serbia, the first answer is I'm not a member of the political party, and political participation is way more than that. That means that we really recognize the problems and have the idea, or can motivate others to solve the problem and to actually tackle them from the different sides. The several mechanisms are there. In some of the youth can use different platforms that are already existing to advocate for policies, to voice their opinion, to offer the solutions for some urgent problems. They can advocate for the legislative changes and some policy reforms. And to address some of the issues. And how to do that, there is in different countries, different mechanisms, is just how do you ask if there is possibility for you, how you use the all knowledge and skills that you already have, in which way you actually put the emphasis on that. There are youth parliaments, there are youth advisory boards, there are some other platforms of UN like UNICEF and UNDP also have their platforms for the young people, and they really make the youth ambassadors for different areas, and youth can use these platforms to advocate. They can use all the knowledge and skills that organization of civil society, but also international organization and decision makers on the global issues offer. Also, some of them are really very active, but the others don't maybe recognize the importance of being part of international organization boards and youth delegates and conferences, because there is also a space to share the network of the people you met and we met all, but also to share their viewpoints and ideas, and to see that actually the problems are not only connected to our region, but it's the same on the European, on the global level, but also to involve in the different grassroots community or organization on the local level, and to recognize how to use the networks. And when we talk about advocacy strategies, is really how you build your partnership and how you use that strength of your partners and your differences in order to solve some of the problems that you are recognizing. Also, all of these above mentioned things and mobilization of peer mobilization, and through our academy we will try to a little bit move around the 3 countries and to try to see if there is awareness and how we can actually partnership with the local stakeholders, what are the problems and how we can solve it. And actually youth-led coalitions and partnerships bring together also a variety of stakeholders, and that is something that sometimes is really very clear, but sometimes you don't see it because maybe you gain information through TikTok and there is no videos about how you can use advocacy tool, how you can advocate and how you can use all the tools you have. But also all these alliances and particularly when we speak about Agenda 2030 and SDGs goals, environmental sustainability is something that really border and really something that motivate young people to think about air pollution, water pollution, biodiversity, and other things that maybe we didn't recognize when we were young. I can say for myself. And I think that some of the recent studies indicate that the movements that are led by young people are more than 30 times likely to achieve their objectives than the one that are led by adults. And I think that we really need to follow our own missions and to open floor for young people. And because of that, I'm really moving to the end, because it's really much more space for you to ask and for our young participants to be involved. Because usually we heard that we need to have more people, young people on the decision-making position. We always have that quotes that we need to involve them more because their perspectives are different. But when it comes to some conferences, usually are like the older people, even though the 3 of us are not old, but still, you know, like you have somebody with more experience that speak about this in important topics. And also the tool, advocacy and lobbying activity that youth have, and they are somehow transform that can be used for advocating, is digital tools and social media platforms. And there is a lot of initiatives that can create awareness, that can organize support for different causes on a global level to motivate others to change something, but not only on this internet. I'm sitting in my chair and want to change something in sustainable development, no, but just to see that there is a possibility and you can use all the options you have. And I really think that there is no progress and there is no moving toward if we don't include all of our citizens, women, men, socially marginalized group, but like especially youth, because they're double marginalized, if we can say, and to try to offer them through the mentorship initiatives or through this kind of academy and schools that we are organizing the tools that they can use on their daily levels in order to solve the problems in their local communities, but not only the local communities. So my advice to all of young people is to use all the platforms, resources, and opportunities to make their voices being heard, and also to ask for help, because to ask for advice, to ask for anything that they need to, because some of the researchers also show that over 75% of young people never ask for any kind of help. They try to solve it on their own, or they ask Google. Okay, Google knows everything, and probably the ChatGPT also knows everything, but there is still a space for the investing in youth leadership and participation in there. That is the space we all need to give them a wind to back in order to change the planet and actually fulfill the Agenda 2030 if it's possible.
Thank you, Svetlana. Maybe not by 2030, but still, let's hold to the plan at least. Thank you again for stressing the necessities of creating an environment where young people are actively engaged and respected, and most importantly, not left behind when it comes to shaping their future. So I would like just to mention that from our experience in CRPM, while working with young people, we have recognized that they are very much interested in being involved, and they are very passionate about shaping their future, and they can be very, very active in terms of eco-activism. So their influence is something that we must further work on, and thanks to the newly developed regional school and also through our programs for young people that we have, this is something that must be improved in the future. Thank you once again. Now I would like to kindly ask my dear colleague Christian to take over the floor and to welcome our next speakers, the young people.
Thank you very much, dear Biljana, for the kind introduction of me. I'm Christian. I work at CRPM together with Biljana, Maria, and Shidas. We try and strive to empower and build the capacities of youth and all those whose voice is hard to hear, and to include them in the policy-making process, everything in order. The objective and the aim of CRPM as organization is to create better public policies. So our energy is always focused on achieving such goals and improving the well-being of our citizens, including youth. So again, thank you very much. And as Biljana said, I'll be moderating the second session of this UNECE side event. This session is dedicated to youth and their role in initiating change and progress in our societies. I'm delighted to introduce three young activists from Serbia, Croatia, and Macedonia who have joined us today as speakers. They will share experiences and perspectives on various aspects, including green policies, the influence of youth in policy making, advocacy ideas, undertaking initiatives. So overall, their involvement and experiences in policy changes, but also what they will probably also give their perspectives on the challenges they face at local or at national level when they try to be part of the changes and that are happening in our society. So Today, we eagerly anticipate hearing their insights and viewpoints. Our first speaker in this session is Dunja Trifunovic from Serbia. I'm glad that that today she's joining us, considering that currently she's on field in Geneva, participating in the Regional Forum for Sustainable Development. I'm glad that she managed to join us today and to give her speech on this side event. Dunja is a climate activist and a delegate at numerous United Nations summits, and including the UNECE Regional Forum for Sustainable Development. She is member of the Resource Management Group and co-chairs the United Nations Youth Advisory Board in Serbia, where she leads the Youth and Climate Action Working Group. Currently, Dunja serves as Deputy Head Coordinator of the Yes Europe Network in Serbia, empowering young leaders in the energy sector, and she serves as a facilitator of the Ubuntu United Nations program. Dunja, again, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and it is a pleasure to speak to you today. Thank you for taking this time to talk about regional problems. And today I was following the sessions, and one of the SDGs that has been in focus today is SDG 13, which is part that is SDG that I'm mostly engaged in. And I made a little presentation that I will share with you to really open up a debate on this question. Do you see my presentation?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
Do you see it now? Maybe I didn't manage to share the screen. Okay, I think
right now.
Now I'm sharing this.
Yes, we can
Okay,
see.
do you see it? So really, when you talk about climate action, it can be a very distant topic. And sometimes it is really hard to understand, especially if this is your first time sort of having a more in-depth discussion on SDG 13. So I'll do a little exercise with you. I hope you will go along with me. So it's a thinking exercise, and it's called arrow experiment. So we will imagine that I'm now in the forest and that I have an arrow in my hand. I know there is somebody in the forest, but I can't really see who it is because of the woods. Yet I choose to shoot the arrow, and it accidentally hurts somebody. Am I guilty of that? You can argue that I'm guilty of negligence, and this is a metaphor for what we are doing to the future generations, because we don't know the people who are about to come after us, but our current actions are impacting the future and their ability to fulfill their own needs. This is sort of a little experiment that was introduced in the book Good Ancestor. It's a great read, and I highly recommend it to you. And the question with that is, are we being a good ancestors? And I'm afraid from my side, the answer is, unfortunately, we are not. Because if we see, we have this framework of planetary boundaries, and within these boundaries, we can fulfill our own needs without impacting the ability of future generations to fulfill their needs. And that's basically the concept of sustainable development and intergenerational equity. So if we see on the left side planetary boundaries, we'll see a lot of red. And those are all the boundaries we crossed. In 2023, we already crossed 6 of 8 boundaries. And the safe space to operate in is actually in the green. So many of them are not crossed just a little bit, but by far. And one of the main issues that also was discussed today is we don't really have we have indicators for the SDG 13, but it's sometimes hard to follow. We can actually assess our sort of improvement or acceleration of the improvement on only 2 of 6 targets. So I come from Serbia. It's a small country in the Balkans. And despite climate change not being the main topic or the concern of policymakers, at least in the viewpoint of young people, Serbia is warming faster than the global average and faster than the European average. Actually, it is warming 60% faster than the rest of the world. For example, in the current, if we look at the current state, majority of the world has, the temperature in the majority of the world by average has risen 1.2 degrees from pre-industrial levels, but in Serbia situation is 1.8 degrees, and that is very concerning. But there is a huge opportunity in partnering with young people, and we heard that from Svetlana and from other speakers. And that is something the United Nations has recognized. In the Youth 2030 strategy, we young people are seen as crucial partners in achieving sustainable development. But the national reality proves us once again quite wrong. Because you can see that, for example, NDC, I hope you're familiar with that firm, it's nationally determined contribution, and is crucial policy document, really, that outlines contribution of one country to the global climate effort. And Serbian NDC has been assessed by UNICEF for the sensibility to the needs of young people and children. And I must once more emphasize that young people and children are the most affected by the changing climate and the effects of climate change. And Serbian NDC, with this crucial document, really has no references of child rights or the rights of young people. It doesn't mention intergenerational justice or equity. It has, in the whole text of the NDC, there is no references to human rights, and it doesn't identify youth and children as drivers of change. And then when we see that, we can ask ourselves, well, why are children, children and of course youth, discouraged for taking part in policy making or trying to engage in the Balkans region? And that is because not only that we are not invited to these discussions about the documents that are shaping our lives and the lives of future generations, but we are also, as the most vulnerable group, our needs are not assessed when these documents are made. But as I said, there is a huge opportunity in partnering with young people. We can see that we are off track to achieve many of the goals of sustainable development, and accelerated action is what we really need. I'll go on to the next slide. And another UNICEF study found through additional consultations that young people felt invisible when it comes to their involvement in decision-making processes. And this is a study that has been done in Serbia. But there are always positive examples. And as somebody who is quite rare, unfortunate representatives of Balkan region, a youth representative from Balkan region at this UNECE conference, yesterday we had an opportunity to draft recommendations to the member states. And I was working on the SDG 13 with the young people from all across our region, and I really hope that the messages we send out that will be presented today and tomorrow during roundtable discussions will be something that we will be taking into account when we are planning ahead for the Summit of the Future. And that is very important to think about. We have a Summit of the Future coming up this fall, and that will be an opportunity to really include the assessments of the SDG progress from all of these regions, not just our UNECE region, and learn from each other and see what is the way forward to build a more sustainable future. And how my activism started was Youth for Climate activism. Youth for Climate conference is a point where really was my first touch with international climate spaces. It was in 2021, and I believe at that point I was 18. And we drafted this document called the Youth for Climate Manifesto. It is actually available in Serbian language. And through that, we gave recommendations for meaningful youth participation. In it was recognized the need for envoy of youth for climate conferences. Today, we have an envoy of youth for climate conferences. It was recognized that we want young leaders in national delegations, and some of the national delegations following the forum really implemented this. And we have, for example, a delegation of Congo, which every year has 2 representatives within their national delegation who are not just there as observers, but are really engaging in negotiations. So it really shows that if we voice our opinion And if you put it in the policy paper, even though it might seem, oh, why we need to like create additional documents and we need on-ground action. But really, if we take this more diplomatic route, we can create spaces where our voices are heard and where our recommendations are taken into account, and really maybe throughout the years, it's not something that comes instantly implemented. And lastly, why do I engage in green activism and why you should care? Well, if you look at the recent report by the United Nations Secretary General, which is called the Overview for the Meaningful Youth Engagement, if I'm not mistaken, we young people who are currently living are recognized as the last generation that will have a chance to curb climate crisis. And I feel responsible. I feel obligated to take action because I know that maybe in the future, the chance to stop climate crisis that we have now will no longer be there. And if we look at this picture that I posted on the left side, we will see the green dot. And the green dot is all of us. It is the whole planet. It is every single person who is currently alive. It's just a little green dot. And if we look at this sort of silver or grayish dot that is a lot bigger, those are all people from the first human that walked the earth to today. And then we can see this huge orange dot, and those are unborn generations. And arguing on going back to my first point is the distance in space is not more important than distance in time. Just because the generation that are about to come are not currently here with us on this planet doesn't mean we should be careless about them. We can see that we're crossing planetary boundaries and that we are undermining the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. So are we really being good ancestors? And that is something I would like to close this address with. Thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure speaking to you today from Geneva, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Dunya. Thank you for your presentation. It was really interesting, and I think that your presentation and your messages will open an interesting discussion at the end. Please write your questions down and keep them for the Q&A session after we finish with the presentation of the rest of the speakers. And I think that so far we are not good ancestors, but let's try and let's undertake initiatives to make changes as soon as possible, because as your message at the end of the presentation said, probably we are the last generation that can stop what is going on with the climate change and with everything that is happening in the environment. So thank you again, Dunya. We'll continue with Art Spahiu from Macedonia. Art is a visionary youth worker at the forefront of youth advocacy and environmental stewardship in Gostivar. As president and founder of the Organized Youth Association OYA and as a certified youth worker, Art has dedicated himself to empowering young individuals. And so far, Art has played a key role in shaping local policies, including drafting the youth strategy and collaborating with OYA on the strategic documents for ecological priorities in Gostivar municipality. So Art, we are glad to have you here today, and we're very eager to hear your perspectives on this, considering that you have worked a lot on local level, and to see the challenges and perspectives and problems of youth at local level when they try to advocate or influence the processes of policy making. So please, Art, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christian, for the presentation, and thank you for having me today here. Thank you all for caring about youth participation as much as we do, because we always think that youth should be part of every policy which is in the making. Just let me share my screen so maybe I can visualize the things I will talk about and the work that we have done through the years. I suppose you can see my screen now, right?
Yes, we can.
As Christian said, I'm a youth activist. I come from North Macedonia, from the Polog region, city called Gostivar, some of you may know. And I've been working to better the youth situation, especially in this region, but in whole Macedonia too. For me, youth participation is really important, and it should be in every part of policy making and taking decisions. This goes for me as individual, but me together with friends 10 years ago created an organization to better the life of the youth of this region. We wanted to work on youth participation, on youth policies and youth rights. We didn't know where to start, we didn't know how to start, but we had ambition. And when we come to today, after 10 years, we see that we really made some change for the youth of this region. We, as OYA, as Organized Youth Organization, work in various topics, and environment is one of the most important topics that we work with. We work for activism, youth activism normally, digitalization, and employment of the youth. All these are the challenges and problems that youth face in our region, but I'm sure that this goes for the whole Western Balkans and pretty sure that it goes for the whole Europe. We are in a situation where we face the same problems, but the solutions for me are different from region to region. And that's why the policies should be national, should be regional, but the local policies are as important, and in some topics are more important than national policies. The local policies for me should be based on national and regional policies, but they should be adapted on the needs of the locals. And no one knows the challenges and the problems better than the locals. And that's why we want, and we are focusing on the local policies, because we feel that we are making the change through these policies. So as I told, policy making is, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, is one of our expertises, and we have worked on various policies, and I will mention some of them, which for us, we feel that we started the change and we are making the change with the youth. We worked on a local youth strategy with the law for youth participation in Republic of North Macedonia. Every municipality should have a local youth strategy, but the situation isn't that, unfortunately, and not all or little municipalities have the local youth strategy. We, together with our staff, voluntarily started drafting the strategy, which took us over 10 working groups. And I should mention that the youth were main part of the working groups. Even though we have expertise, we have delegation from all the institutions, local and national institutions, but still we wanted to hear from the youth what they want for their future. We worked for over a year and a half on this strategy, and it was complete 6 months ago. It was voted, and it started implementing. I gladly can say that with the implementation and acceptance of the youth strategy in Gostivar, the youth local council and youth centers have much more budget. The budgeting that comes from the municipality, that the strategy recommends them to have from the overall budget of the municipality. And also, thanks to the strategy, they are attracting donors because now they have a certain strategy. They have clear visions of what they will do in the next 5 years. They have a clear action plan together with the strategy, in which action plan employability and environment have key roles. And we are really happy for that, because our two fields that we focus a lot. And after we saw the success and the importance of the strategies, we started drafting the strategic document for ecological priorities in the Gostivar municipality, which in my opinion, can be easily implemented in the whole Polog region. We worked also with experts, but still, for me, it's a war we are fighting. The youth are always part of these working groups because, as I say, they are the future. We are drafting these strategies, these policies for their future, and they should be there. They should have their opinion. And thanks to the working groups that we are doing, the youth are making the difference between making policies and being politically active or being part of a political party, because that was a huge trend, especially in this region, that youth were running away from the ward politics, and the voting wasn't there, the participation wasn't there, and it was a hard challenge for us to convince them that this is for their future, and this isn't something related to a political party, but it's related for the future of the nation, of the country, and especially their future. We, after the strategic document for ecological priorities got accepted by the council, municipal council of Gostivar, we also got a budget for the ecology department that they never had before. And now they are open to collaborate with outside donors. That wasn't the case, at least for the last 10 years. The last strategic document on ecology that was drafted in this region was from the year 96. So we got a huge update on that, and we realized how back we are with this kind of policies. And the institutions itself see the benefit from the policies that we are making and they are making in budget-wise and in development-wise. We also drafted, we wanted to do something purely for the youth. So the youth can do policies for themselves too, not just general, but policies focused on youth. So we drafted an ecology action plan that was for the Youth Council and Youth Centers of Gostivar. The action plan was worked on for 3 or 4 months. It included more than 100 youth who actively participated. It was a huge thing for us. The result of it, for me, it isn't the action plan. It is the youth participating, and the thing that we built on them to participate on policy making, to make their voice heard, and also to better the youth participation law. Because now, from the youth that weren't actively and weren't interested at all, now we see amendments they want to make to change the local policies and national policies, which makes us proud a lot.
Yes.
We also, I will be short, we also are drafting for now a strategy on ecotourism for the Mavrovo and Trostuše municipality, which is the biggest tourist attraction in this region, but we think that isn't developed enough, isn't invested enough, and we don't know the value of that part, a part which will bring a lot of employments, a lot of youth employments, especially in a phase when youth are running away from the region for the reason of not having enough jobs or not having jobs that they want to do. We also have worked with startups on this matter, that environmental startups. We have had incubation labs for them, which maybe we'll mention in another situation. I don't want to take a lot of your time. And we aren't making only policies. We are doing a lot of activities with the youth from the region, and not only Gostivar, because especially in environmental issues, we think that you can change the future by educating and involving the youth. You can't make much change, and you can change the habits and the mindset in the older generations. You maybe can make them act in some way, but the mindset, it's really hard to change. But with the youth, we think, and we are living it, that we can change their mindset, we can change their habits, their recycling habits, the way they see the nature, the way they treat the nature. As you can see in some of our pictures that I wanted to show, we have already have an eco patrol, 12 youth activists, eco activists who work voluntarily as eco patrol, as we call them. We educated them for like 5 months. So now they have right from the municipality to detect the pollutions, to detect who is doing the harm to the nature, and also to send them to inspectors, so they have power in a way. We also worked various activities with the youth where we planted trees. We worked, as you can see, the second picture with the markings. The youth, it was initiative from the youth that we supported. They are marking the places where they want or should be green, but there is only concrete. So we are seeing the change in the youth, in their mindset. They want greener places, they want greener future, and I'm really lucky that we can work on that. We can make policies on that. We are making activities on that, and I really hope that the youth that we have on this region can make the change. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you very much, Art, for sharing your experiences and viewpoints from municipality of Gostivar. I'm glad that you have a lot of successful work and you're achieving your objectives and goals as an organization at local level. Since as I saw from the pictures and from your speech, you had a lot of activities, eco activities and initiatives that are really important to create feeling of belonging of the young people, that they have to contribute in their communities, and the change in the community can start with them. It is clear that we are thinking globally, but we must act locally, since the Agenda 2030 more than ever is now focused on the cities and the municipalities, which is at local level, and implementation of the SDG goals and achieving the set priorities are focused on the communities and at local level. So that's why I'm really glad to have you here today, Art, for bringing us the experiences from municipality of Gostivar. Since the localization of the Agenda 2030 and its SDGs means enabling local governments and communities to be the catalyst of change to support the achievement of the global goals. Thank you again, and we are now continuing with our last speaker for today. Last but not least, in the second session dedicated to youth representatives, we have Dorotea Strelec from Croatia. Since Croatia is a member of the European Union, I hope that she might have some other perspective to share with us, considering that Serbia and Macedonia are with candidate status regarding that processes that are still ongoing in our countries. But first, let me introduce her. Dorotea has a rich background both in formal and informal education. She participated in many informal educational programs and academies, including the Academy for Political Development in Croatia, which is one of the schools that is lead partner in creation of this initiative for the Regional School for Political Development. So she attended as a participant, a student in one of the generations of the academy, and she was a demonstrator in 3 courses at the Faculty of Political Science. And in the same period, she was editor of the student magazine. Since 2021, Dorotea is part of the non-governmental organization Youth Initiative for Human Rights as implementator of various programs, but it is important to mention that Dorotea is also eco-activist, and in several occasions she engaged or initiated eco-friendly actions within her community. So Dorotea, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Christian, and hello to everyone. I'm really glad I'm able to join you today. I'm visiting my sister in Brussels right now. I really enjoyed listening to other speakers, especially my young colleagues. Yes, I will try to give my perspective, my opinion. I will be maybe a bit critical towards institutions. I hope I will motivate some of you young people and inspire you or influence you as you wish through some of my examples, because yeah, we all struggle as young people, no matter from which country from Western Balkans that we come from. But there are really ways, and I would really want you to know, but I think you already know, there are really numerous opportunities for us, no matter if you're coming from some capital city or a smaller town or some rural area. There are NGOs, there are some initiatives, or if even there are not, you can be the one that lead by example and start making some positive changes. But usually there is support, and you should for sure ask for some help and find other like-minded people and start doing something. I was really involved in a lot of youth projects, and I really wanted to continue by offering some other young people these opportunities. That's why I started working in Youth Initiative, and we advocate for protection of human rights. So we deal with unfortunate events that happened in 1990s, the wars that were happening in the Western Balkans. But we do this by putting young people on the spotlight about talking about these events, not to show decision makers that we also care about this stuff. And that's why we also do projects with young politicians and young advocates. And we have Political Youth Network, which is quite interesting platform because it gathers youth branches of political parties from 7 Western Balkan countries. So we have members from North Macedonia, from Serbia, from Croatia, and from other countries. It's over 40 young branches that are involved. And it's important to highlight that it's not only they're coming from political spectrum only from one side. So we have the ones that are center left, center right, which is unique because usually they group themselves regarding their ideologies. But we try to collect them and to give them space to discuss, to hear one another, and to network, because usually they stick to their interest groups. And also we saw that it's really important not only to connect them, but to connect young politicians and young political activists. And this is something really, really interesting, because they can hear other side and see how they can collaborate. And we think this is the way how the politicians should also do, to hear the civil sector, to involve them in policy making, and etc. And this is just something from my work that I wanted to highlight. And regarding my involvement from local to national, and now when we have European elections, I'll also tackle this. So yeah, in my local community, I come from Varaždin. It's a city in the northern parts of Croatia. We had a local activist group that were active for years because of the ecological problem that we had about waste disposal. It was a problem that lasted for 18 years. So I was 10 when this problem started. It was it should have been only temporary solution for where should the city put all of the waste. So they decided to wrap the waste in plastic, like you know how you have hay in the fields and it's wrapped in plastic. This is how they did with our waste, and it just piled up during the years. So we had tons of these plastic big things that were in the entrance of the city. Of course, people were really angry and not satisfied, and this local activist group was becoming more and more loud about the problem, that it should really be solved. And I decided to join them voluntarily. Then they decided, okay, they don't hear us really as activists. We should try to run for local elections. And in the end, we managed to enter the city council, and I was one of the members of the city council. It was really interesting to be involved as a young person in this policy making process directly, but also during the campaign we had really a lot of things. I mean, the previous mayor, it was also not only the ecological problem but his way of governance, where we had official Facebook page of the city where they just decided to block some people if they share their comments about the local issues. And there was one example where the city decided to make parkings for bicycles. In my opinion, it was really bad way, because we have a lot of a big problem of bicycles being stolen in the city, because the way how these parking lots are constructed is not safe and secure enough. And I put it like one comment in the Facebook comment section, being polite and in my opinion had a constructive criticism, and they just deleted this comment, blocked me, and then I started being really angry about this. It's like it's free speech on the official city Facebook page. You cannot do this to people. Oh, you will hear then about us in other ways if you don't want to give us this place space to say so. So yeah, in the end, the mayor lost the elections. He also entered the city council, but I was there also. So it was like, now we're equals. It's not only this matter of power. So yeah, he was in power then, but things changed quite quickly, and now we were like peers, let's say. And it was really, really interesting for me to see this, how it all happened. New governance decided to unblock all people, and yeah, it was really, really, really interesting. So yeah, don't be scared, just try, and maybe it can happen really important changes like this. We also then had in the city council for the first time the committee of youth was established, and here I would just like to point out the thing that I think everyone should advocate for. So you can have financed by the city or any other municipality participatory budgeting. So we had participatory budget for children and for youth, and this meant that not only young people can vote for some project, but they can also be the ones proposing those projects. So we had, I don't know, around 10 ideas from young people, either coming from local organizations or individuals who had their ideas. They decided to present them. They run for getting the funds for these projects, but other young people from the city were able to vote. So only young people coming from my city, from 18 to 30, were the ones deciding which projects will get funds. This was a pilot project from last year. It was quite successful. We still have a lot of things to do. We learned from the process how it can be improved. We now had the second one. So new projects got their funds. Here I would like to share example of one ecological project. It was a project of young people that decided to organize a swapping clothes, where people can take things that they don't wear anymore or never wore, but it's in their wardrobe, and they can bring it to this event, and they can just change and take something from someone else. So it's like this sustainable way of living. So we are trying, to promote this by luckily being able to fund this kind of project, but because young people said so, okay, we find it quite interesting. Also, I was member for one mandate of Croatian Youth Network. It's a National Youth Council of Croatia, which the state not really does recognize as such. I know there's also National Youth Council in Serbia. I'm not sure about North Macedonia, but yeah, the idea is to be. It is, yeah. Then great. I know that most of the countries have. I know about Montenegro also. And yeah, the idea is to be representatives of youth organizations. But the main problem here was also I'm from local criticism. Now I'm going to the national one. It's the state didn't have a national program for youth for 7 years. So they're talking, yeah, you're important to us. And then there's not a key document with the strategies for youth. So in 2017, this document expired and they had over 6 years to write a new one and to involve Croatian Youth Network or many other youth organizations and young people. It was really a long process and we were quite vocal about this. And just for the end, coming to the European level, yeah, I think now we can see in us in Croatia that European Parliament is really trying to emphasize the importance of young people to go and vote. But we see the problem, so they want us to use our vote, but not really our voice. And we see the problem here if we have right to vote, but to who should we give our voice to? Because we don't have our own representatives, young representatives. It's a fun fact, but also a sad fact that you have more people that are have a name Martin in European Parliament than you have young people. So young representatives in European Parliament, I think the number is seven young people out of, I don't know, 355 or so. That are representatives of youth, of us. So yeah, now I'm even being part of one youth group, and we are really seriously considering about running for European elections even, and to be a youth list led by youth and representing youth. This is something that, yeah, it's now maybe happening. We will see about this, and I hope this was motivational in any part. So yeah, thanks once again for giving me the space.
Thank you very much, Dorothea. Indeed, it was very, your speech was motivating us, and I think that young people who are hearing you today speaking at this side event are really somehow motivated to undertake actions in their communities. As you already said, you started by acting locally, and now you're trying to do this regionally and on national level to make changes. Of course, we understand the problem. The problem is the same in all of our countries. Youth are usually underrepresented, and when the policy and decision makers decide to appoint youth on some important position, usually someone who is suitable or more close to their interest, rather than someone who will advocate and actively represent the youth in our society or at local level in our communities. So again, Dorothea, thank you very much for your contribution. You are excellent, and please try harder and motivate as much as young people you can in your community. So we are now entering the Q&A session. We're supposed to have around 30 minutes for questions and answers and discussion, but we are now, the time has passed, but we still have time for several questions. So please do not hesitate to raise your hand. I will give the floor to you to ask the question, or you can type some questions if you feel more comfortable in the chat. So I see 2 raised hands so far. Alexander Tsekov, please. I think that you first raise your hand, so the floor is yours. You can ask your question. Also, we have Dunya and Stefania, so we can do Alexander, Dunya, and Stefania in that order. We can collect more questions, and I think that the speakers can answer those questions and participate in the discussion whether they feel more suitable to answer those questions. So please, Alexander.
Thank you, Christian. It was a pleasure to participate in this discussion, actually. So actually, I have a question for Dunya. Considering that the situation in Serbia and Macedonia, if not throughout the entire region, is similar in context of climate change, such as the absence of political will to implement policies, the lack of needs assessment, let's say, and evidence-based policy making, do you believe that there is still a critical mass of youth interested in these issues related to climate change, or you think that young people are more focused on other areas they consider priorities, such as unemployment, inadequate or low quality education, social inclusion, political polarization in our countries? So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Dunya, you want to answer the question?
I wanted to ask, do we collect all the questions or should I answer now?
I think that it's better to collect questions from 3 of you, so later you can raise your hand to answer the question that got Alexander. Please, Dunya, you raised your hand for a question, or?
Yes, I didn't know that it was my turn. I have a question regarding sort of youth participation, and this to Svetlana. I worked with Svetlana, and Svetlana was one of the mentors during PFP program I was part of, which really gave me necessary skills to sort of participate in policymaking. So the question to Svetlana is really, what do you see as main obstacles to youth participation in Serbia? And do you think the part where we see that young people have distrust in the institutions plays a role in the lack of youth participation? So thank you.
Thank you, Dunya. Please, Stefania, you can also ask your question, and later on I will ask kindly Svetlana first to answer the question, and then Dunya to answer Tsekov's question. So, please, Stefania.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you to everyone. It was a pleasure to follow all of you and the discussion, especially when it comes to such an important topic as youth and creating sustainable futures. My question is open to everyone, and is basically about how much are the institutions approachable when it comes to implementing environmental policies on a local or on a national level.
Okay, thank you. I'll kindly ask Svetlana if she can answer the question that Dunya had first, but and later we'll go with Dunya. And I think that for Stefania's question from the speakers, maybe Art can contribute to your answer, but I'll leave the floor open for the speakers to answer your question. So please, Svetlana, if you can.
Of course, Christian, I can. Okay, it's not an easy question, but really, when we look at what are the evaluation of the programs that we are working on, the obstacles for participation definitely is the lack of trust in the institutions. You sometimes, even if you have knowledge and skills and you have support, there is always some kind of barrier how to approach if they don't answer on your email. Is it all that you have that you will do, or you will go to the like local municipality, knock on the door and say, okay, I have still the same question and I want to ask it. Actually, Dorothea mentioned the really important things that and that is that we usually youth don't know all the rights they have. Unfortunately, in Serbia, the one of the main subjects in high school was the constituency of Serbia, and you know basically what are your rights. But unfortunately, there is no that kind of subject after 2021. So if you don't ask and if you don't go to any kind of non-formal education programs, you will not what are your rights. And Dorothea mentioned how important it is that you know that that is your right to vote, to ask for your right, or to advocate, to ask, because you're also citizens of the country, Serbia, Croatia, North Macedonia, Europe, it doesn't matter. The thing that is also really important is the influence of the surroundings. And we had that situation in several cities in Serbia that in smaller cities, you almost know each other. So sometimes it's really very easy to approach. But on the other hand, is like always that demotivation from your surrounding. Why do you want to ask and why you want to, like change something? Please sit down and wait that something happen on its own. There is a program that we are working with on inclusion. It's a Roma Acted, and I know that is Macedonia also is active, but the methodology is good, that you choose representatives of the local community, and also you have institutional working groups where all representatives of institutions there, and they're sitting together in the multitask force group. Let's say it's some really complex name, but still there is an open space to ask for help in solving the priorities. And you all mentioned that there is a lot of problems that are really dedicated to the economic empowerment, to like resource approach and everything else. It's definitely lack of trust to the institutions in general, really very present and demotivated. And also don't know whom to ask, or you not believe to organization of civil society. Unfortunately, still those who are not recognized as a partners, but as an enemies. And I think that only through programs that we are working on, all of 3 our organizations, like giving the information, even though that we are living in the age of internet and you suppose that everybody can find everything on Google, it's sometimes really need to, like use all the tools you have in order to change something on the local level. And just briefly, about the situation in Serbia, about the problems regarding the environment. It's really very positive, let's say, experience that young people are really care about their environment, and they recognize much more problems on the ecology and green agenda than we expect from them, because for them it's really important to like to breathe clean air, or to like have access to other resources. And I think that they just they don't have enough space and enough opportunities to gain more knowledge on it. So there is a space for like putting the efforts, how you motivate young people and actually to ask, what is your problem? What is your problem, and in which area you want to change? And green agenda is really very high, and ecology is really very, very, very high. I hope that I answer at least the Dunya question.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. I would kindly ask Dunya to answer the first question. I think that Tsekov directly asked you a question, so please.
Thank you, Svetlana, first of all, for the answer. And second of all, thank you, Alexander, for asking this question. It is a very important point that in the times where we live in, especially in the Balkans, where young people are, facing different challenges, ranging from sort of economic to social challenges, sometimes sort of green activism is not a priority to them. But as Svetlana outlined, it is also important to mention that young people are interested. However, if we want to involve young people in policymaking, it is not just about inviting them in these tables where the discussion is being held regarding the policy development. We first need to build their capacity to first of all understand, because those documents are usually written in very bureaucratic language, and you need to understand what were previous policies and what standpoints were taken into account when this proposal or the draft was put on the table. So in order to meaningfully engage, they first need to know, need to have a comprehensive understanding of the topic. It is not just to have an awareness. Awareness is the first step, and definitely a very, very important step. But once we are aware, we need to create opportunities for education for those young people. And at the end of the day, we need to include the young people who already have capacity, that are already knowledgeable on the topic, or have experience in different areas, be it on-ground activism, be it NGO, for different NGOs. We should engage them, we should give them opportunity to learn, for example, through including them in national delegations at these very important events that are shaping climate policy for that respective country, such as COP. And that is something to still be seen. And another thing, another aspect, and I will finish with that I think is important to mention, is that our ministries are understaffed. It's not that the Ministry of Environment isn't interested in including young people. I talked with them. And for example, during the COP, which is the largest conference, and we have certain countries have delegations of 20, even 30 negotiators, Serbia only had 2 or 3 people on ground. And those 3 people were negotiating, taking notes, doing correspondence with the headquarters of United Nations. And then we expect those 3 peoples which are running the environmental program for the whole country to consider also including young people. I think we need to work on really, solving the understaff, and the issue that the majority of ministries are understaffed, unfortunately, because those programs require more staff and more resources. But still, young people are definitely interested.
Thank you very much, Dunya, for your extensive answer of Tikov's question. Now I would kindly ask youth representatives from Serbia, Croatia, and Macedonia if they feel comfortable to answer Stefania's question, which was related to approaching public institutions. She asked whether is it easy to approach institution when it comes to implementing environmental policies on national or local level. So Dorothea, Art, maybe.
I can overtake this and talk about North Macedonia. For our experience, unfortunately, it's not system-wise, it's not institutional-wise. It depends a lot on the person who is in the charge of the institution and the person who is in charge of the sector you are interested in. In our experience, if you are if you have goals that benefit both the institution and the population, and if you are clear about the goals and about what are you asking from the institutions, in most of the situations, they are open to collaborate, they are open to help, and they are open to work, especially with the youth in the last 3 or 4 years, because I have a feeling that even the institutions are acknowledging the power that the youth have and the vision that youth bring to the table. So the collaboration, it's getting easier, but still it depends on who runs with the institution.
Great, thank you very much, Art. Anyone else got any question? Maybe some.
I would like to add a question too.
Yes, please.
I wanted to ask Jidas about the formal education, how curriculums in the formal educations that do provide the students with enough knowledge, do they give the students enough knowledge about democratization, and how young people can contribute to strengthening our societies and creating better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jidas, I think that this was for you.
Sure. Look, everything in theory looks good. You have certain curricula which is revised periodically, which is taking into account modern literature, contemporary literature. You try as a professor to communicate with colleagues from around the region, around the world. You go to conferences, you read, you write. You do your maximum, of course, but in reality, the interest of youth, at least in the faculties in Macedonia, is minimal. So, for example, we have had a number of elections for youth counselors. You know, every faculty and every university has student body which represent the interest of the students. And so I'm saying in our case, in this faculty of security, which is the biggest in the University of Kliment Ohridski, the second public university in Macedonia, there was almost no interest of the students to participate, to be elected, to be those who will actually govern the student body and who will co-participate in the management of the faculty together with the professors. It is what it is. I think the most of the public universities have very old-fashioned approach to engage students. This is unfortunate, but it's a fact. I think the youth need to be more engaged, but in their own way. This is the key, I guess. As long as my colleagues, as long as older generation thinks that they can include the young with the ideas they have, we have a problem. But how to do this, I don't know. I'm one of the many here in this setup who is on your side, and I agree and I understand your issues, and I think all here, Svetlana, Christian, Ivana, and the others will contribute positively. So let's continue fighting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jidas. I think that we must have a lot of questions more than this we already discussed, but I think that we already passed the time that was scheduled for this meeting, already almost 20 minutes. We passed more than we should. So to wrap up in one sentence, what I hope that what we do with the regional school will have meaningful impact on future leaders in the region, and at the end we'll encourage you to be active, participate and advocate for policy changes. And of course, the regional school for political development, which is the platform for connecting people from these three countries, will empower youth and will empower and will equip them with knowledge to contribute towards achieving the SDGs and the Agenda 2030. So since we are coming to the end of this side event, I would like first to express our gratitude to the UNECE for recognizing the importance of the idea and the aim of the Regional School for Political Development and our efforts, as I already said, in empowering youth for climate change and giving a chance to organize this event. I would also like to express my thanks and gratitude to our valuable speakers today, the directors of the public schools in Macedonia, Croatia, and Serbia, but also to our valuable youth activists from the countries who contributed in advocating and creating better public policies, both at national and local level. So I would also like to thank at the end to all participants who joined us today and who disseminate our idea and are similar-minded professionals who will later on disseminate the idea and will contribute in our efforts to build a better future. I would like to thank you all again. Biljana in the chat will share our contacts probably, but you can always reach us. Feel free to reach us on the social media, on the our Facebook, or the platforms that we have and we are really active on. The Regional School for Political Development has a website on which you can follow further our activities. Once again, I would like to thank you all for participating today, and hopefully we'll see each other very, very soon again. Thank you all, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you, Biljana.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.